Hello, my name is Beata. In this episode, we will talk about time in tarot. I will show you the technique that I use to predict timing, and this is the only one that works in my experience. To use this technique, you need to know what decan each card is associated with, so it's very easy to use with the Thoth deck, but there are also other decks that have the decan marked on the pip cards. And if you are new to this, you can have a look at my video about the decan wheel. It explains the whole concept in detail, and it will also show you a few other techniques that I've seen other readers use. It is most useful to do a small spread in this case if you are trying to predict the timing of an event, because too many cards will just create confusion. So let's say someone wants to know when they will be able to get married. And this was a real question I was asked, and it was asked during lockdowns. So the wedding that was initially planned had to be postponed. To answer this question, I used a simple 4-card spread, and I described this spread in my video on how to read cards together. When we look at the cards to read the timing, we will ignore all of major arcana and all court cards. So we are only interested in pip cards, so only the cards with numbers on them. And for this purpose, we are not looking at the actual decan and the timing associated with the decan. We will treat the planet in a given sign as an indicator of timing. So, for example, if we see the 3 of Wands, we read it as Sun in Aries. And then we need to check when Sun is going to be in Aries next. And it's very easy to look this up. You can do it either in an ephemeris or online on any of the astrology websites like AstroSeek or Astro.com. And from this search, we find out that Sun is going to be in Aries from the 20th of March until the 20th of April. And this is one part of our time frame, but it's still quite long, it's a month, so we might try to narrow it down if possible. And if we are lucky, we will get a card that is associated with the moon. So let's say we have 9 of Wands as well. This is Moon in Sagittarius. So now we need to see when will Moon be in Sagittarius, but during the time period that we have already read from the previous card. And we can see that it will be from the 13th of March until the 15th of March. So this is our prediction for the timing of the event. And the cards will not necessarily be in the right order. So you need to check all of the possible timings that you can see in the cards and then see where they overlap. And using this method, I was able to predict the timing of the wedding. And Querent confirmed that this was when the postponed wedding was supposed to happen. And she just wanted to confirm that it will actually happen on that date and won't have to be postponed again. And you can also see here that it's a good example of someone asking you a question and testing you at the same time by not really giving you all of the information or by not asking the true question. So the true question here was, will the wedding go ahead as planned? But instead, she asked me for the timing of it. And if you read for other people, you have probably experienced this more often than you would like. And so to use this prediction method, you need to have some very basic knowledge of astrology. And you practically just need to understand how fast or how slow each planet is moving. The moon gives us the most precise timing because it's moving very fast. It spends about 2.5 days in each sign. On the other end of the spectrum, Saturn moves very slow, and it can spend about 2.5 years in each sign. And in case of slower planets, like Saturn or Jupiter, if there aren't any other cards to narrow down the timing, I would just give the general time frame. So for example, you can say something will happen in 1 to 2 years' time. And if an event is further in the future, the person asking the question will usually just be okay with a more general prediction. They're not expecting to hear an exact date. So when we look at the cards, it's useful to just write down all of the different timings that you can find and then see where they overlap. And this could give you this general idea for the timing of the event. And now we also need to consider really the most important question here. And this is, can you always predict a timing of an event in tarot? And from my experience, the answer to that question is no. So from my experience, you can see timing in the cards when the event is important and when everything is already going in the same direction. So when the wheels are in motion to make this event happen. And of course, the importance of an event is very personal. We might not know in advance, when the question is being asked, if it's an important event or not. But when you see the cards, and if you see clear timing in your spread, then you will know that it will be an important event in this person's life. And in my practice, I have seen clear timing for weddings, for the purchase of a house, for meeting a potential partner, and for getting a job. So it doesn't always have to be an objectively major event. It just has to matter a lot to that particular person. And it might be a small event, but it will change the course of the life of this person, and this is what makes it important. Tarot always shows us what we need to know right now. So if you don't see the timing in the spread, you will see a clear indication for why there is no answer at this time. So for example, if someone is asking when they will get married, but they don't have a partner yet, the cards might show us what they need to do in order to meet the right person for them. So the lack of timing is pointing us to a problem that prevents the event from happening. And sometimes you will also see a very scattered timing. There are different time frames and they don't overlap. And this will mean that the event is not concrete yet. It's not firmly set in time. Also, if you see a lot of major arcana cards, it usually shows the lack of agency on the part of the person asking you the question. They're just waiting for things to happen on their own, and they're not really interested in making them happen. If you see a lot of court cards, it can show that there are too many people involved, and they might have conflicting interests. And this then in turn is preventing the event from happening. For example, there might be a lot of people around this person trying to influence their decision. So this is why they cannot make up their mind. So even if you don't get a clear time frame for the event that you are asking for, you will get a clear answer and guidance on what needs to be done. And as always, everything depends on our own free will. So even if we have a clear timing of the event in the cards, the event doesn't really have to happen. Person asking the question can consciously do something to prevent this event from happening, but when you see clear timing, it is very unlikely to happen. Like in the example of the wedding. The person asking the question really wanted to get married. She couldn't wait for this to happen. So why would she suddenly decide to cancel the event? But I also have another example for you to show you that you do have absolute agency over your life choices. And this woman described her story to me because she was looking for advice on what to do next to solve her problem. So this woman was told by one tarot reader that her marriage was going to fall apart. And even though she wasn't happy in the relationship, she didn't want her husband to leave, so she actually did everything in her power to stop him. And she succeeded, so the marriage outlasted the predicted expiration date, but another problem presented itself. She described the relationship to me as completely dead. She was even more unhappy than before, and her husband looked very unhappy as well. And they were hardly talking to each other. They were just going through the days like in a haze. And she could see the error in what she did, but there was an even bigger fault on the part of the reader who predicted the end of the relationship. So in cases like this one, the reader has to consider what is going to be most helpful rather than just thinking what is going to show off my skills in the best way. And we don't have to say everything that we see in the cards. And we should be especially careful when we give these definite statements about matters that have very strong emotions behind them. So in this case, the querent used her free will to stop an event from happening. The prediction turned out to be false, but the relationship was supposed to end and didn't, and instead it entered this zombie half-life that was very unpleasant for both her and her husband. And you probably recognize this state from your own experience, not necessarily in a relationship context. But sometimes we stay too long in a certain situation because we are afraid of change. And it can be a job, it can be a relationship, it can be any other situation that should have ended a long time ago, but somehow we refuse to let go. So we can see here that there is some level of predestination in our lives, but there is also the power of our own agency. And it's up to us to decide this very fine balance of when we should use more of our free will and when we should just follow the flow of events. And tarot can show us very clearly the best course of action. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and please remember to like the video, leave a comment, and of course, subscribe to my channel. I would like to thank everyone who is already supporting the channel. I appreciate your help very much. And, as always, if you find my videos valuable, you can show your support by becoming a patron or with a one-time donation through PayPal. All links are in the video description below. Thank you very much for considering this. Your support allows me to continue making these videos for you. Once again, thank you all for today, and I will see you in the next video very soon. Thank you. Bye.